I think that I mean, there are many things that are making Americans and others sick, including lack of physical exercise and so on. But I think at least two of the important ones that aren't discussed enough are being divorced from our natural circadian schedule. So you want bright days. We've talked about this before, but I'll just briefly reiterate. Bright days, meaning sunlight in the morning, bright days, as best you can, getting sunlight through a window. There's a recent study showing that if you work near a window, it actually can help with blood glucose management, and dark nights. And, for some people, going to bed late and waking up later is best for them. For other people, waking up early and going to bed earlier is best for them. People have to figure out what's ideal for them.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear you say that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there are some hardcore people who insist that the healing only happens between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m.
No, that's nonsense.
Thank you.
That's nonsense.
Thank you, sir.
There are...
Because 2 p.m., 2 a.m. is when I'm just getting to sleep.
Okay, so you're a night owl. And there are what we call chronotypes, and some people do best on a late to bed, late waking up schedule. And nonetheless, getting bright light, ideally from sunlight in your eyes in the first hour after waking.
I listen to you on that, and the first thing I do is go over to the window, and it's always like, oh, I feel like a vampire, because but I force myself to, open my eyes to that.
Great.
And, and also I'm very, very aware that light in the eye at night, it's the worst thing for you. It wakes up the pineal gland, right?
Yeah, so your pineal gland makes melatonin, which makes you sleepy and makes you fall asleep. Light inhibits melatonin, light reaching the eyes specifically. I should point out that it's clear that some people can tolerate screen light and fall asleep with no problem. But what bright light does in the morning is it increases cortisol, which we know is a stress hormone. But in the morning, you want your cortisol high. This is the foundation of health, to have your morning cortisol high, yes, high, and then to have it taper off into the afternoon and evening. This is true for men, for women, perimenopausal, menopausal, pregnant women, kids, everybody. It's called the healthy cortisol curve. And if that curve flattens, meaning if it's not a big enough peak in your morning, whatever time that happens to be, and if you have too much cortisol in the evening, you're going to have problems with sleep. You're also going to have problems with blood sugar regulation, because cortisol has been labeled a stress hormone, but we need to think about cortisol as a glucose, as an energy mobilizing hormone. So it turns out that even if you can sleep just fine after being around a bunch of bright lights at night, it will elevate your morning blood glucose. Now, is that going to make you pre-diabetic or diabetic? Over time, it actually might.
Really?
But kids nowadays, they've done a beautiful experiment where they had kids sleep in a room with 100 lux, that's very dim, 100 lux light overhead, eyes closed, and they saw significantly elevated morning blood glucose levels. So dimming the lights at night is important. Now, there's a lot's been said about blue light, and for some people wearing blue blockers can be helpful, et cetera, but just dimming the lights. This environment that we're in here is actually quite dim. It's bright enough for us to see each other, but this environment is not nearly bright enough for the morning, what we need in the morning to spike cortisol, which is what we want, but it's plenty bright to spike cortisol at, say, an hour before sleep. So just in the first hour, make the first hour of your day as bright as possible, ideally from sunlight. Make the last hour of your day as dim or as dark as safely you can.
I do start to lower the lights, but, there's only so much you can do.
Sure.
But when I go to bed, I cover up all these little things. Everything in fucking America now has to have a little fucking stupid light that you don't need. I cover them all, like with like washcloths. I'll put things all over the.
I bring duct tape and I'll cover little bits or get a great a soft eye mask is one of the best investments.
I don't like that because I feel it's onerous, but I have blackout curtains. No, when I go to sleep at night, it is as black as Stephen Miller's heart. It is black in there. I'm telling you, when I open my eyes or close them, I see the same thing.
Great.
That's dark.
Great.
You know what's stupid? And I don't mean to knock this product. I'm wearing it right now, these rings that I'm sure you're very into.
I wear a Whoop band, where I measure my sleep with an 8 Sleep, the cooling mattress.
Okay, well, this is the same idea. And I've just started it.
And it blinks.
I had to, you know what I did? And by the way,
That's why I don't wear one of those. That's why I measure my sleep with my...
I figured it out, and I'm gonna give you... Here's a life hack, you life fucking hackers. Okay, so yes, it blinks at night. It's supposed to be about your health, and it does the one thing you're not supposed to do, which is have light on when you're sleeping. Bright green light or yellow light. Okay, so what I did was I took a black surgical glove, You know, like those thin rubber gloves that we gave out a zillion of them during COVID, and now they're polluting the entire country and world. So great on that one. But I just cut off a little piece of it and I put it on as a fucking Oura Ring cozy at night, and then it blocks it off. So there's your life hack for all the people who wrote in like I did and said, this is so silly. We're trying to do our health here.
I know. So I think the emergent theme in our conversation already today is technologies that we use to improve convenience or improve our health inevitably have some sort of side effects that we run up against.
Everything does.
Yeah, it's true. So this is wild. So the long wavelength light, red light, infrared light, et cetera, that's the heat from the sun that you feel. It's part of that heat that you said. That long wavelength light is not the light that burns your skin. It's not the wavelength of light. And it was present in incandescent bulbs. So incandescents are, you know, even if you see a white incandescent bulb, it's got short wavelengths, so it's got blue, it's got green, it's got yellows, all the way out to red, and in some cases even infrared. That infrared and red, we'll just call it long wavelengths. Believe it or not, beautiful data on this from Glenn Jeffrey's lab, University College London. It can go into and through your body, and it actually helps, this is a loose term as I'm using it, charge your mitochondria. The mitochondria, there's water in that area, and the water absorbs the red light. If you've ever gone swimming, you've gone down, you know, snorkeling or something below a certain depth, you lose the reds, okay? Because the reds get absorbed. So your mitochondria function better, you increase ATP production, your metabolism increases in the presence of red lit, long wavelength light to the skin. This study has been done. Shine long wavelength light on somebody, watch blood glucose levels in a blood glucose test, and it's blunted. Now, the LED lights that are commonly used now, or most everywhere, they are truncated so that it's all short wavelength and medium wavelength light. And that short wavelength light, in the absence of long wavelength light, has been shown to damage the mitochondria. There's a kind of a niche group online, different from the butthole sunners, so that are very bullish about this idea that the switch from incandescents to LEDs, and not just screens, but general lighting, is causing disruptions in mitochondrial function. This used to be considered crazy. This was like chemtrail crazy, right? But now we're starting to see from animal studies and human studies from Glenn Jeffrey and others that people's vision gets better when they get in front of an incandescent bulb once a day. If they get sunlight, which also has long wavelength light, your vision improves because of improvements in mitochondria. You can, again, better blood glucose regulation. This study just came out, eating near a window or working near a window improves blood glucose regulation. So, you know, I'm not paranoid. I have LEDs in my home, right? But if you can get outside and get some long wavelength light from the sun without getting a burn, that's the trick, right?
I do it every day.
You don't watch too much UV. Yeah, and you look extremely healthy. I'm not just saying that. I'm up close, so I'd be in a position to gauge, right?
Oh, finish your thought.
Well, it's absolutely true that
I owe it all to clean living.
Right. So I don't want to say that short wavelength light is poison. That's not quite right. It's short wavelength light in the absence of long wavelength light. And if you had asked me about this, 8-10 years ago, I'd say, my colleagues in the sleep lab at Stanford, one of the preeminent sleep labs in the world, they're really big on morning sunlight, afternoon sunlight. That's actually where I learned it from the sleep biologists at Stanford first. But you start to look at our environment is becoming very short wavelength rich, long wavelength diminished. We're having darker mornings, people straight onto the phone. In the evening, it's too bright. And then we could make it generational and say this younger generation that seems to really be struggling, let's set aside the content they're looking at, right? Just what's actually on those screens. It may be that we've made them sick. And so while I am a fan of modern medicine.
It's the light itself.
What's that?
It's the light itself is what you're saying.
I'm saying it's the light itself and the timing of light.
It's such an important message that it's not just the fact that it's a bunch of stupid TikToks.
Well, it's that too.
That are poisoning your mind. It's the light itself. Even if it was transmitting the smartest, wisest messages throughout history, the light itself.
The light itself.
It's just not natural.
That's right. And incandescent bulbs and firelight